We say in davening every day, 3 times a day, we say the following words: Hashivenu avinu l'sorosecha, v'karvenu ma'akenu la'avodasecha, v'hachazirenu b'tshuva shlema l'fanecha. Hashem, bring us back to your Torah, and then bring us back to tshuva. It seems from what we say in davening every day, 3 times a day, that the best way to prepare a person for tshuva is through the study of Torah. Why is that? To me, it seems there's a very simple answer to that. Why do we study Torah? We study Torah because Torah is a description of Hashem. Torah is who the Rebbeinu Shalom is. So if you want to return to Hashem, Hashivenu b'shuva shlema l'fanecha, hachazirenu b'shuva shlema l'fanecha. If we want to return to Hashem to do tshuva during this few days before Rosh Hashanah, so that's what we say every day in davening. The way we do that is through the best way to do that is through the study of Torah, because when you study Torah, you get to know the Rebbeinu Shalom, you get to understand who Hashem is, and that brings a person back. I want to stress that certainly, first and foremost, we are honoring this morning those boys who put in some extra effort on their own time to make a Siyum to complete all 55 blot of Masechet Sukkah last year. But in a certain sense, what we're celebrating this morning is not just the accomplishment of those boys, and certainly one of the reasons why we're celebrating this is to try to give a sense of motivation and recognition for extra learning done on one's own to make a Siyum. But it's also a Siyum of everybody sitting here, because everybody sitting here studied Torah throughout last year, and hopefully every word of Torah that everyone here studied helped bring them closer to Hashem and will help with their tshuva process this year as well. So I'm going to call up the boys to please come up and stand up here for the Siyum. And if I don't remember your full Hebrew name right now, you'll be mochel me. Should have written it all out. First, I want to mention Eli Melech Mordechai Deutsch, who's not here today, but he's also celebrating the Siyum. Chaim Lebto, Yonasan, Chaim Melman, Ezra Questel, Yonasan Daniel Kadish, Avram Yaakov Shomron, Yosef Tzvi Goldshine, Yitzchak Eitan Lipsky, Yaakov Yehuda Hagler, Shlomo Zarnigian, Avram Shlomo Zayman Teichman, Hillel Tzvi Field, Yosef Zarnigian, Shlomo Zangerian, Ephraim Fischel, Wagner, Shmuel Wagner, and Mordechai Ackerman, and Daniel Scheinman, and Yoshua Black, and Elio Aaron Lanner, and Yaakov Kabel Feldstein, and Yitzchak Ginsburg, and Aaron Joseph, and Gershon David Beer, and Yaakov, and Yonasan Menachem Ivazi, and Eitan Rafael Jacob, and Avram Yitzchak Blisko. I hope I didn't leave anybody out, but if I could ask all the boys to please come forward at this point. Okay, before we actually do the Siyum, I asked there's many of you know that pretty recently our community has been privileged that a new rabbi has joined our community. Rabbi Axelrod is someone with whom my personal relationship goes back a very, very long time, and he has spent his entire life engaged in trying to inspire people to learn more, to grow more. He's had a lot of extensive, aside from his experience as a shul rabbi, he also has been involved for many years in spreading Torah on the college campus. And our community is indeed extremely blessed and fortunate to have Rabbi Axelrod, who now has become the associate rabbi or rabbi, what do we call him? What's Rabbi Axelrod? Associate rabbi of the Young Israel of Woodmere. You gotta get your titles correct. Of the Young Israel of Woodmere. And I want to say that even in the short time Rabbi Axelrod has been in the shul, he has already made a tremendous impact in terms of creating new programs and inspiring the community and causing there to be even more Torah study and more classes and more programs to do what he can to inspire that very, very special Makom Torah and Tefillah, one of the largest shuls, if not the largest shul in the entire United States. And we are indeed fortunate and privileged. I want to give Hakaras Hatov to Rabbi Axelrod for taking a few moments this morning to be with us, to share with us some words on this very, very special occasion. Please give your attention to Rabbi Chaim Axelrod of the Young Israel of Woodmere.
Rabbi Chaim Axelrod, the Rosh Yeshiva, and an old friend, and so many of the Rebbeim. As I look around the room, we go back many, many, many years, in so many different areas of my life, of my own personal life. I know he's not, I don't believe he's in the room right now, but Rabbi Willie, who was my high school Rebbe, and has a chelek in so much of what I've accomplished. It's an honor for me to speak before you at the Siyum. A tremendous sight to see these young men behind me, all of them with sheets ready to be Masechet Sukkah. There could be no greater vision for community Rav, the first time I come to address, to see this site. And I think it taps on a particular idea from this week's Parsha. I want to just share with you a thought from the Ksav Sofer, and then a brief story. The Ksav Sofer is dealing with the fact that in yesterday's Torah reading, so we had the Ata Kisvu Lachem Es Hashir Hazos. We have the command that we're supposed to go ahead and Kisvu Lachem, that there's a command for each and every person to go ahead and to write their own Torah. Kisvu Lachem Es Hashir Hazos. And the Ksav Sofer is bothered, as many of the commentators struggle to understand, why exactly is it the lachem? You should just say kisvu. What's the kisvu lachem? So many mitzvos, as we know in Masechet Sukkah, the word lachem is very prominent. L'kachtem lachem, that you know that it has to be yours, the first day of Sukkos. And so, why lachem here? And the Ksav Sofer says it's based on the fact that we find the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Misheniach lo aviv sefer Torah, mitzvah lichto mishalo. That if, let's say a person has a sefer Torah that's given to them through Yerusha. Let's say their father or their grandfather had written a sefer Torah, it's in the family, they pass on and you have a sefer Torah. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin says that it doesn't make a difference. That each and every person still has a mitzvah to write a Sefer Torah. Because it has to be, says the Ksav Sofer, lochem. It's not enough to the Torah that you receive, whether it's in the form of the Sefer Torah, the scroll, or even the Torah that's given over. It's not enough for it to have belonged to a past generation. It's not enough for your father to go to the daf. It's not enough for your parents to go to a shir. Lachem tells us that when it comes to writing this beautiful song, each and every one of you has a responsibility to make it yours, to be kona it, to own it, to make it lachem, not your Rebbe's, and not someone else's, and not even for your parents, who Baruch Hashem are here today shedding unbelievable nachas. But it's for it to become yours. The Fran tells a very famous story that occurred to Rav Moshe Feinstein. It says there was once a boy, a young man, who was about tshuva, and he was getting into learning, and he was getting very serious about his studies. And his father saw what he was doing. His father saw he's spending all this time learning. His father said, you know what? I want to learn. I want to learn Gemara. And even though it was very, very difficult, very hard, never really learned it, didn't have the benefit of going to a school like DRS, they started to learn. And it took them a complete year, an entire year to finish one daf. One daf. Baruch Hashem, here we have many daf in one. 1 year for one daf. And the father wanted to make a whole big celebration. And so the boy went ahead and asked Rav Moshe Feinstein. He said, Rav Moshe, he said, my father wants to make a whole party. He says, can I make a siyum on one daf? Not a Masechta, not Masechet Sukkah, not Masechet Makos, which is this coming year with Masechet Sukkah. Next year I hope to see even more standing up here, finishing Masechet Makos. But one daf. And Rav Moshe said, of course. They made the Siyum, and Rav Moshe comes to the Siyum. And there's such a simcha, there's such a joy, there's such a happiness, because this man finished one daf. And soon after that Siyum, this man passed away. And Rav Moshe came to the Levaya. He comes to the funeral, and he was maspid this man. And he said, Yesh kana olamo b'dafech. Which means to say that there's an ability to acquire the entire world with one daf. The power of one daf. And that's really the kisvu lachem that's echoed here. And so what we're celebrating today is this tremendous accomplishment of these boys. But it's not only their accomplishment, it's the accomplishment of the Rebbeim that's sharing it, the parents that have the nachas of seeing that their commitments to Torah are being passed on. But it also summons all of us here. Maybe we can't all finish the Masechta, but one more daf than what I'm going to learn in Shir. If I do one more daf, then I have to, that I'm graded for, that's on my GPA, one more than last year, that will make all the difference. I'll just close with a beautiful idea I saw from Moshe Shapiro. He said it last week in a shir. He says that every day, at Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we go before the Rebbeinu Shalom, we say the tefillah of Nesana Tokef, and we say the idea, the concept of Kama Yibareim. And most people, that's how I thought about it, it means who's going to be created? How many children are going to come into this world? He says no. He says there's no din on something that doesn't exist yet. He says Kama Yibareim is going on each and every one of us. Are we going to be recreated? Are we going to be different? Are we going to be new? Is my Torah learning going to be different this year? And in Mitzvah Hashem, with the continued Siyumim that these boys will make in their lives, and the types of learning that we ourselves will inspire each and every one of us that they will accomplish in their lives, Mitzvah Hashem will have the tshuva and the kapara and the limud haTorah that will ultimately accomplish that kisvu lachem es hashira hazos. We will create a very, very beautiful song for ourselves, our family, and for Klal Yisrael. Good morning.